Are we done?
You
Are we
are
on
on.
Facebook?
21st
That's
century.
great.
Yeah, we are an up-to-date group.
Well, welcome everybody to our third episode of Family Life in the COVID season. Welcome to those on chat and then anybody else who's going to be joining us on chat. But for all you Facebook people, we're just going to go live just for a few minutes, just to let you know what's going on, that we're here. The recording of this will be available in the next couple of days on YouTube for you to catch up on as well. So, I'm going to hand over to Kath, who's going to lead us along with Leon through the next half hour, 40 minutes or so, as we go through our third episode together.
Thank you, Claire. Lovely. I was just saying to our panel how nice it is to be able to front up to these things without having to spend half an hour getting yourself ready. So forgive it if the hair looks a bit messy. But anyway, it's nice that we're here again this week. So I'm curious to know how your weeks have been since we last met, because it has been a really interesting one with a few changes in what we're allowed to do. Guessing, well, for me, I know there's a whole heap of uncertainties that come with that, and the conversation has totally changed over this last week. But I'm guessing that it's brought some uncertainties into your thinking about returning to work or kids to school, or simply about who we can meet, where we can meet, the park or not at the park or in the garden. It is a little bit mad. But anyway, we wonder what this has looked like in your place. So last week we spoke of all the anxieties that this time was bringing, and being sure to make sure you look after yourself in this space, taking time to retreat or to build yourself up, whatever you need to help yourself to come sort of back into the fold again, a little bit more collected. And I wonder how that is looking for you, whether you managed to find a little moment. And we also shared a little bit about how these anxieties are showing in our kids. And we talked about that big leap of trying to take these moments as opportunities to really connect with our kids in these moments through listening. And I wonder if you were able to this week just see if there were any opportunities to connect with your kids. And if you need a refresher as to what some of those tips were for listening, check out last week's audio on that one. Anyway, this week we're going to look at how to find peace in all this uncertainty that we've just been thrown into again. Andrea gave us a picture. She shared a picture with us that Claire's going to put up. I don't know if you remember the first week that we met, we looked at being thanks Claire, at being in a boat in a storm, and the fact that we weren't all in the same boat, but we're on the same storm. Well, this week we're looking at this beautiful picture. You can still know peace without knowing what's coming next. And I just thought that was a really beautiful one for us to ponder over these days. Lovely. Remember also that in this time, please feel free to put some comments down in the little chat box down the bottom, or in the question and answers as we delve into this notion of what it is to find peace in all this uncertainty and these uncertain times. But in the meantime, we're going to whiz round to all our panel, and we've got this question for them. And the question is, what uncertainties are a part of your conversations around all your households, particularly this week? And if you can, to share with us how you're able to see some light and some hope and some peace in some of these days. With Sarah, let's start with you, as we went with you last time. Sarah, how's that looking in your household this week?
So a couple of things are looking uncertain for us at the moment this week compared to last week. One is that at the moment next week my husband has no work. So we run a small building business, so that for us is an uncertainty around finances. So with that, I kind of deal with that by praying. That really helps me have a faith in God, and that helps with that. There's stuff to work through, and obviously scouting around for work and things, but that's how I deal with that. And the other uncertainty is that my eldest is in reception, so the idea that she might be going back to school Also trying to hide that from her at the moment because she's desperate to. So if anyone mentions it, I'm like, no, because we don't know anything yet. And I think I deal with that uncertainty by actually at the moment I don't know the details. I don't know when exactly, and I don't know how or what it will look like. So I'm kind of just choosing not to worry about that side of things, because I don't know. Once we know some things, then maybe give it some more thought.
Yeah, so much, thanks Sarah. So much of these things are out of our control at the moment, and how we deal with that is a choice thing, as you said. What about for Innocent?
I think it's quite similar to Sarah. There is an uncertainty with employment and income coming in at the moment, and also the notion of going back to school. We had an email, I think it was yesterday, from my daughter's school stating that they would be opening on the 1st or 2nd of June. However, her year group won't be going back. So I was so relieved when I heard that. However, I was ready to kind of not send her back anyway. I know that they've said that in some schools that you have an option if you feel that it's not safe or you have people who are vulnerable at home, then you can choose to not send your child in. So I was already quite sure that was going to be the case. They would try and force my hand and I would just have to say, no, that's not going to happen. I'm not going to be able to confidently send my daughter in. And then also the other uncertainty is seeing family. I think this week more than ever, it's getting a lot harder for my daughter. I think I can kind of do that, but she's really missing her cousins and her friends and stuff, especially my niece who is just over a year, and it's probably the only name that she can say, and she just chants it every time we see her, and she's reaching out to try and have a cuddle, and it's just really quite heartbreaking. And then this idea that we can now kind of start seeing each other, I think we've just decided it's probably safer not to at this point, because for the younger ones, it's hard for them to maintain that distance, really. Mm-hmm. But the peace that comes from that is knowing that actually God is in the situation. He's in control, and just trying to be grateful for what we do have. We're all healthy. We're all safe. We still have food on the table. We have a roof over our heads. And yeah, we give thanks for that.
Thanks, Innocent. That's great. Helen, can you share a little bit about what's happening in your household?
So I think we've had a bit of increased anxiety amongst some in the household, that the actual more freedom has actually kind of fueled a little bit of fear and anxiety. People feeling maybe that wasn't wise. Others are desperate to see some of the extended family and are finding the idea that might be a long way away, very stressful. The uncertainty about school, I have managed to keep quiet from my youngest, who is desperate to go back to school, and thankfully that's not got onto his radar. So a lot of a mixture, actually. Some people desperate for more freedom and some people frightened of freedom. And I think but I think for me, it's been learning to actually live in the moment and literally trying to think about today. And as you've been mentioning, connecting with your children and actually trying to see some good things, because there have been some good things that we're experiencing as part of this. And it's trying to focus on those, really, the kind of gratitude thing, really.
Yeah, thanks, Helen. Yeah, that's great. I remember you mentioning that last week too. We're going to pick up a little bit on that as well a little bit later. But thanks for that. That was great. Andrea, what about for you?
Yeah, I think uncertainties around school, and none of mine are in the bracket that will go back on the 1st of June. So we've got another few weeks of homeschooling, but then the thought that they might go back in July, or won't they go back? And it just seems like a very long time on one hand, and also sort of uncertainties about what work will look like over the next few weeks, months, years, what the impact. Your mind, I find my mind goes around and around in circles if I let it, with the uncertainties. I'm searching for certainties that it's impossible to have at the moment, to have, certainties on lots of these questions. So sort of being careful about what I think about and when I think it. Had a little bit of useful advice a few years ago about a worry hotel, and when you find yourself sort of going into a circle of worry and sort of negative thoughts spiraling around in your head, you sort of stop yourself and park them, and then find a definite time, maybe half an hour in a definite time and place, where you're actually going to then focus on those worries, maybe write them down, or maybe talk to a close friend or family about them, but park them for another time. Otherwise, you just can be going around with them in your head for hours, you know.
I like that idea of a worry hotel. That's very good. Great advice. Thanks, Andrea. That's really good. What about Richard Nelly?
I think from our point of view in-house, we've had a lovely past week because our children are so young. They don't really kind of understand. They're just having nice time in the garden, nice time in the sunshine. We've discovered a BMX track further down the road that we didn't know about that we're going to go and check out. So to them, life is great. And yeah, so in terms of anxieties for us as a family, we're pretty chilled, really. I think for me, in a professional context as a teacher, I'm ringing parents fairly regularly, and obviously they're now kind of wondering, okay, what does all of this mean now for us, and am I okay with that? Some parents can't wait to send their kids back to school. Other parents really don't want to, so just fielding all of that. But I think, again, as other panelists have shared, just that sense of, okay, God, you're in this and you're in control, and you know, you're the rock of my life. We lean on you, and we don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Like the picture said, we don't know what's going to come, but if you're in the boat with us, it's going to be okay. And so we've just known a sense of joy. Although, I mean, it was a few weeks ago, it was a bit more up in the air, but now we're kind of in routine. And I think for us, our neighbours, you know, seem to have normal life going on in their houses, as it were. And so actually it feels as if things have lifted a bit since Sunday. You know, we're allowed a bit more freedom, which from where we're sitting as a family feels good. But obviously we don't have older children yet, so we don't have the complexities to deal with in that regard.
Every family's so different with the different ages. It's fascinating. Yeah, Ellie, do you want that?
I think for me, probably it is more around family, and so just trying to figure out how to navigate seeing my mum, who lives quite nearby, and I mean, she sort of reined it in for her, but she's quite an independent spirit, so you know, some people just, I guess the uncertainty comes with the interpretation of the advice, isn't it? So you know, some people are literally not leaving their houses, and I think I would go stir crazy if I didn't leave the house. So I've been out every day with the kids, but that, you know, but we're well and we don't have underlying health issues, so that's fine. But it's just, I guess we're coming into this phase where like Facebook is rife with opinions on all sides about what is the right thing and isn't the right thing to do now. Yeah. So I think that just breeds a lot of uncertainty about what is the right thing. Like everybody thinks they know, but then looks at someone else's opinion and goes, oh, maybe I don't know. Maybe I've got it really wrong. So I think for me, it's more trying to discern a way through everyone else's kind of interpretations of the law.
Yeah, yeah, good point. There's a lot of interpretations happening out there. Hear from you.
Yeah, well, similar to what you guys have been saying. I mean, the thing for our stage, we've got two younger children, and they're not in the reception and year one, but nursery and year two. So they're not going to be straight back. But we're on the, I don't know, they call it like a parent group of the nursery. So we're beginning to have to work out the strategy for does the nursery open. And just you've been saying, Ellie, that oh goodness, all of the different opinions and fears that parents in particular have are just like kind of really bubbling up, because now it's got a reason to be I suppose spoken, expressed, and my goodness, it's really anxious, worried parents and families out there. You know, you don't really quite realize, you know, if you're kind of happy in your own little bubble, literally almost. So yeah, we're as a family having to deal with that. We don't have to deal with that, but we are kind of taking some of that on board with the role we've got, and Mary in particular, sort of leading on that. And so our strategy is we have to do this as a team. Mary on her own would kind of just explode, pull our hair out or whatever. And so we've had to just really work together to say, well, actually, together we can be a bit calmer and let's take a perspective. Let's see if we can, write another email which is a little bit more measured, or let's just not write the email. Let's just let's just leave it. Let's just watch a film. Let's turn off for a moment. Let's we had the hotel idea, but let's pause. That's just
really good. Yeah,
strategy. Yeah,
I like that. Yeah, it's really interesting. It is. Thank you, everybody. Yes. It is interesting how so much of what is happening at the moment is out of our control, and managing it well is hard to do. And you guys have all seemed to it's interesting hearing that a lot of you are choosing what to do about it rather than just having it all. Andrea, that idea of the hotel, Warrior Hotel, is fantastic, because we could be listening to everything. But you've actually, a lot of you have just said the word, I've chosen to do this, or to take a certain stance, or however. Anyway, tonight we are going to look at how we can manage it really well. I was reading an article during the week by a lady called Sarah Bessie, and she talks of how hard it is to see the world in a positive light right at the moment. So instead of that, she's chosen, again, there's that word, to see particular things in a positive, hopeful light. And she makes a list of them daily. And I would allow me, if you will, if I could read just a little passage. She's a writer, so it's not quite like the list that you or I would write, unless, of course, you are writers. But I just thought it was beautiful, so I'm going to quickly read a little bit. This particular moment, this particular ordinary goodness I have chosen to love. The constellation of golden freckles scattered across my daughter's nose, the squinty-eyed grin of another, the pounding of the basketball on the pavement out back. I love the way my now as tall as me son overfills his cereal bowl every time, and that he forgets that he can't walk and read at the same time, and that he always holds his hair while he watches TV. I love it when I step outside, the bark of the old tree I've watched through the every season change. I love the sounds of the words, I love you, I forgive you, I'm sorry, I miss you, I want you, chose you, I made coffee for you and it's ready right now. I just thought that was really, really beautiful, because she's listed all the things that she can choose to be thankful for, because at the moment, our world it's hard to see that in a positive light. So I think that's part of what a lot of you guys have said, that you've taken control of our thoughts when so much is going around that basically sows those seeds of doubt and uncertainty. So when we're trying to have that bit of peace that and bit of space that we've been talking about over the last few weeks, to look after yourselves, be it in a bath or on a walk or in the loo. I wonder if we can ponder something in our world that we can be thankful for, that makes you smile, or even if you have to go back and think about what used to make you smile, just to ponder on those things, even if they're not there right now. And for me, I'm meant to bring my journal. I tend to write things down, to journal them, or even just make a list of them. But it helps to dwell on the goodness of those things. And it's even just great just to focus on one thing that you find brings you a little bit of hope and a little bit of peace, or that you're hoping that one day might return. And we spoke a few weeks back also about routines and how they can be helpful to everybody in the household. So the idea to grab some of those everyday things that we have to do that become part of our daily routine, and just sow a little bit of light and hope into them by remembering some of these little bits of goodness that you've written down in the morning. And if you have a faith in God, then these are the moments when you can just breathe in deeply and find some peace that He has for us. We also spoke, let me go back, because some of these little things, these little gems that we're writing down, we can help build our kids up too by doing what that lady Sarah shared in her article. It's a great skill for them to have that in their toolbox, for our kids to know that when they're anxious or worried, that they can write down something that they're thankful for. It sort of gives them a bit of resilience to be able to soldier on. I can suggest that by sharing some of those, either maybe write them up on your fridge, just write one on your fridge, you put it on a different thing each day that you find amazing. And your kids may just pick up, oh, what's this on the fridge, Mum? Why have you said that I love the way that you bounce your basketball out the back incessantly? But it starts the conversations again, and you can bring them back into those conversations, and it might be a really great way to sort of start that connection and helpful way to have some of those difficult conversations we've spoken about. It's kind of a light-hearted way of doing it, so that's a good thing. Last week, we also finished on a note which Helen just mentioned again just then, the fact that we can't affect the laws and the rules of what this season is bringing, but when it's overwhelming us, to actually live in the moment. And I love the way you picked that up again tonight, Helen. It was great. Not trying to plan ahead or worry about what we are going to manage. I think, Sarah, you said this as well. I think it does help when we're in that overwhelming moment to just stand and stay standing just that little bit longer by doing that one thing at a time and just living in that moment one day at a time. So whizzing back to the panel again, any thoughts to add to that? If not, we can ask Leon just to have a look and see if we've got any questions. Any adding to that one?
Yeah.
Any,
yeah, I think it's pretty much already been said, but I think just to guard your minds really, and to try and be intentional in what you allow to come into your airways, because there's so much coming at us from every place that actually does take root. So maybe just being a bit more tactful on what we're going to allow to seep in. So for me, I know social media is not helpful, as the news as well, and the radio. So they're all kind of gone out the window, and we're really living in our own little bubble, which is fine, and it's not realistic, I know, forever, but just trying to guard what I allow to sift through into our world, because we can control this little world that we're in, which is our house at the moment.
Yeah, thanks, Innocent. Very true.
I think I'm very thankful for being able to get on my bike much more regularly now, because our working hours are different and the weather's been great. It's the equivalent of my cave that I get into, so that when I'm back in the house, I'm full of energy and more able to engage rather than be disengaged. Which is great. I think we have a little routine where when we put the kids to bed, we just ask them, what's one thing you can thank God for today? And we pray before they go to sleep. So that's kind of in our routines. But yeah, I like the kind of thinking about it a bit more stuff. So,
yeah, that's great. I love, I don't know about for you, Richard, but that routine with your kids to this is a great time to consolidate them. And whether they have already got routines or whether you're just starting to create routines. And it takes a long time to create those routines, to build them into your everyday. But now's the time just to be able to focus. I mean, it takes, what is the latest thing? I think it's more than 21 days now just to get that routine, that habit, and build that into your days. Yeah.
90 days, apparently.
Oh, it's 90 now. Excellent. Well, we've had, I don't know how much we've had so far, but we can certainly keep on.
Yeah.
And if you like any of the ideas that we've chatted about, it's great to be able to start a new routine. It's never too late to start a new habit or a new routine, or just to break into trying to do something new with the kids. Fabulous to be able to learn off other people. It's like that notion of pulling your boat alongside another boat, picking up what they're doing and racking up alongside them and just trying to learn from them. Yeah. Any others there?
I suppose, well, I was just echoing a little bit of this last week. I mean, I found a lot of the piece that we found was when we did find time to have a after the kids had gone to bed, a chance just to unwind, not just unwind, but actually to chat, talk about what we were feeling and what had been happening, and between us, the two of us as the adults in the house, getting to a place of peace. could it really be quite easy to just let it, each of us carry on chuntering and thinking to ourselves, and actually sharing it just helped. It was I know it doesn't necessarily automatically do it, but I think more often than not it does. Just to have that time to share with your wife or your other half or whoever is the person you would go to, to share, and something happens or it can happen. I was very conscious of this week.
Yeah, thanks, Leon. I was reading something today just about in the storm, but also a voice in the battle, and having a voice in the battle, or listening to the voice in the battle. Like you were saying, Innocent, that notion of stopping and listening to the right things. And Leon, you too, was just about sharing with others in the battle, in the storm. And again, about bringing your boat alongside somebody else. So any thoughts and questions that anybody might have? Richard's volunteering Ellie to bring something to the front. Ellie, how are you?
Well, I find it hard to multitask, so trying to type a question and
cool. Well, give it to us.
So it's just kind of going back to the thing about the uncertainty around people's interpretation of the advice going forward. There's very stark contrasts coming up. I mean, particularly exposed on social media, but if you're trying to figure it out, but you find that your friend, your neighbour, your family, relative, whatever, takes a completely different view to you, how do you navigate that well so that you don't end up alienating people, but you also don't end up kind of
being held to ransom
over someone else's kind of opinion of it? Do you mean? I just feel that's going to get worse as time goes on, or more pronounced.
Yeah, absolutely. And as everything is opened up, every little step that gets opened up, there's going to be a question. And I think you are so on the ball there, Ellie, in that it's going to, does it sow seeds of doubt in us, or does it sow that the uncertainty in what we think? But then also the question is about whether you're sending your child to school or not. There's just all this, the pressures that come from every direction, and then you've got parents saying, "You're not sending your children to school, are you?" It's really difficult, and I do wonder whether that notion of the voice in the battle is quite poignant at this point, and that's just stopping to hear from people you trust, and from God on what brings you most peace when you've sat with it. I don't know if anybody else has got any other wisdom to throw into the arena there.
I think for me that probably the most helpful thing is to try and be 100% honest, but also 100% respectful. So I think you can't obviously eliminate all anxiety or all tension, but I think being as upfront and honest and open as you can with other people about how you kind of navigate these situations. So as a family, we're probably less risk averse. I know I am. Ellie's a bit more risk averse than I am.
But even on the scale,
probably still more on the risk light side. So our kind of biggest challenge would be trying to make sure that we respect other people's kind of desire to not introduce risk. And I think just trying to learn how to understand their world, and because obviously I can understand, I think of families where, for instance, at school there are kids who live with extended families who do have underlying health conditions, and we're a fit and healthy household. We can go into the world with relative certainty about if we did get it, it would be okay. Statistically, the numbers are on our side, but other people don't have that certainty.
That's right.
So I can totally understand why it's just a bit of a mess in terms of one household will go gung-ho on everything. Another household will be, hey, whoa, hold on, time out. So, but I think just being honest and respectful and taking an initiative on having the conversations, was, it's a very British thing to kind of not want to say anything or not try to upset the boat or, rock the boat or upset the apple cart. So I'm mixing my metaphors. Because, because nobody wants to talk about it because you don't want to make other people feel awkward, but actually you make it worse if you don't.
Absolutely.
You don't lay hold of it in a respectful but honest way.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, Richard. I love that, and we just need to talk about it and being in a respectful way. And you're right. And getting into the shoes of the people who we're speaking to, and just trying to understand what their world is like, is a great thing for us to model to other people as well, and just to be known for people who have a graciousness in that way. So yeah, thanks for that, Richard. It's really good. We were going to talk about conflict tonight, as I mentioned last week, but with Boris giving all his new we can do's.
Information.
Yes, thank you.
Guidance.
Thank you. That was the word I was looking for. We just thought it would be good to talk about how we find peace in all of this uncertainty. And I would like to sum up all that we've spoken about, seeing hope and light in this uncertain time, by praying a very quick prayer, if you don't mind, for us all in this moment. Again, something that we can do, that we can choose to do, we've got control over doing. We can do this. So either join in with us or sit back and listen to as these words wash over you. So, Father God, in these uncertain days, when they just feel a little bit out of control, we thank you that you stand by us in these days. Thank you that by recalling the light and the hopeful moments of our day with you, we can have a peace that is from you and that almost doesn't make sense at this moment. But we ask that you might bless us all and keep us all, and may your loving face shine upon us all and be gracious. Amen.
Amen.
Well, thank you, panel. We are always appreciative of the time that you give to us this evening, and we will hand you back to your families.
Okay. Thank you for watching this video. Why don't you join us in building a life-giving, hope-filled culture by building each other up, helping each other grow, because quite simply, every single person, without exception, is of infinite value and worth. So yeah, don't forget to subscribe and click like on YouTube, to follow us on Facebook, and do leave your comments below as well. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you around. Bye.